All right, now that we have a quorum, we'll call the meeting to order, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming on this beautiful day, and like we've been talking about earlier, free supper next door, so appreciate it. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Cullum.
Yes.
Bodie is absent. Saxer.
Yes.
Scott is absent. Bell.
Yes.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please.
So moved.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. No conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests this evening. Takes us to approval of the minutes from our regular meeting. First one dated February 12th, second one February 26th. If there are no changes, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So move.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to financial items, our bills and claims. Mr. Lundberg, whenever you're ready.
As always, I would entertain any questions that you guys had. I just had a couple noted on page 6, Gilhaugen Construction. We are finally at our final payment of $60,050 in that project. Marks the completion of the high school addition project. Another one noted on page 11, which was a payment to the Sioux Falls School District. It's our NSP revenue sharing agreement that we have a yearly amount that we pay to the Sioux Falls School District, which basically amounts to the tax revenue off the capital outlay fund attributable to the Angus Anson Lawrence plant site, just under $26,000. And we had a big payment on page 13 to Teachwell of $307,000, majority of which is the quarterly payments for the 23-24 school year. That's the third quarter payments. We'll have one more quarter in there. Total bills $886,000, $2,634 of advance payments, itemized, $92,552 of pay vouchers. I don't know if you guys have noticed, those have gone up substantially this year. Substitute teaching is up substantially also in correspondence with that.
Is that driven by the rate or the volume?
Volume. That's all I had.
All right, if there are no questions on the bills and claims, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And financial report, Mr. Lundberg.
Cash report for the month of February showed just over $7 million coming into the month, $4,025,000 of receipts, and $4.2 million of expenditures. Left $6.8 million at the end of February, of which $5,950,000 was in the general fund, $50,000 in the capital outlay fund, $721,000 in the special education fund, $36,000 in the bond fund, and $77,000 in the enterprise fund. The $4,025,000 is itemized on the next two pages. I highlighted two numbers there, two other revenue numbers. The school and public lands payment for this year was $425,839. This is $25,000 more than last year, so that's good news. In the middle of the page, the bank franchise tax was $853,000, which is compared to last year of $1,050,000, down $200,000. So our bad news outweighs our good news in those two items. Investment report, $3,587,000 at just under 5%. The payroll report, $2.7 million, very typical payroll for the year, 23-24 school year. $1,666,000 of benefits and related deductions. The cash report, we're 2/3 of the fiscal year through. Revenues, other than that bank franchise tax being lower than anticipated, our revenues are, all funds are right in line with last year, which last year pegged out at 100%. The expenditures, 2/3 of the way through again. And the general fund, we're showing 65.06% expended versus 65.79 last year. 0.7% would equate to $300,000 underspending in that fund. So that's right in line of what we anticipated and projected with our cuts in that fund. And I don't have anything else noted on the other funds. Food service shows a $400,000 loss, which is about double our budget of $185,000. And then lastly, the trust and agency fund shows $305,000 of total balance. Our, as you can tell in the report, some of our student council funds are inflated currently with fundraising dollars. By the end of the year, hopefully those will be expended and be down to more of a normal level of $200,000.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lundberg on the financial report this evening? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lundberg. Takes us to our general business items. Administration reports, Administrative Center, Superintendent Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few things to update the board on here this evening. Currently in the process of reviewing and revising our strategic plan. Anticipate distributing a family community survey here later in the month of March. And then we'll ultimately host open house meeting opportunity for folks to come in and talk through what that feedback has been. And then you should anticipate seeing a draft plan here in July-ish, and then we'll adopt in August for the next 5-year increments. So that process continues to roll. Legislative session, they had their last regularly scheduled legislative day. So the process has been complete other than veto day. So on March 25th, they come back for the very last legislative day within the process, which is to deal with vetoes. In terms of session information and resources, Senate Bill 127 is the teacher comp bill. That's the bill that we're primarily dissecting at this moment in time, pulling apart and making certain that we have the best information possible as we enter in negotiations here in about a week. So still in review of all of the other respective bills that made it through session. We'll lean into the Department of Education, as well as ASBSD and SASD in terms of the legislative items and what actions are required for us in terms of policy actions, et cetera. Budget process, I'm not going to go through that in great detail. I guess what I would just note is that I would anticipate having the preliminary capital outlay budget for your approval here at our next meeting, and then may also have some additional staffing items. That won't be general fund staffing items, but we may have some special education staffing items that I would bring forward here. And then obviously, negotiations is a huge part of that budget process. And then you can see the preliminary presentation in May, and obviously the public hearing in July. Negotiations, timeline, and wage recommendation, as we said earlier, the legislative process has been completed, so we really enter into the negotiations aspect of the year. We will be meeting, the administration will be meeting with the association on the 18th for our pre-negotiation meetings, and then we'll work through our respective process as well. Want to confirm with the Personnel Welfare Committee after this meeting has concluded the date that we are going to sit down and chat prior to the March 25th date is the school board meeting date where we'll have the full board come together and take a look at that information. Hope to have that all wrapped up and completed by our first meeting in April. If not, we have additional meetings scheduled. Academic calendar, would just note we are in the midst parent-teacher conferences here this evening. The intermediate school and the middle school are engaged in that respective process. Elementary and the high school buildings will be doing that work tomorrow. We are in school on Thursday, March 13th, March 14th, which was a snow day, and then there is no school on Friday, March 15th for a comp day. You can see spring break aligned to Easter there. We have a 2-hour early dismissal on the 28th, no school on the 29th or the 1st. With that, Madam Chair, that's all I have. Would certainly entertain any questions you guys have at this point in time.
All right. Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. Mr. Lundberg, anything additional tonight? All right. High school, Mr. Schleckway? All right. Middle school, you said they're in conferences. And intermediate, okay. Special services, Mrs. Sotime, anything? Elementary, anything from you guys? All right. Mrs. Nelson or Mr. Henschel? Okay. Mr. Freckien, anything? Okay. All right, no board policy. That takes us to our first 2 items under general business. Consent approval. I would entertain a motion to approve items 1 and 2 as presented there, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Under personnel, I would entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 17, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Items 18 through 23 are there for information only. Under communication, building permit applications are there for your review if you'd like to look at those. Under Board of Education, there are a couple thank you notes there from various staff. And board reports, does anyone have a formal board report that they would like to share this evening? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, on behalf of the Transportation Committee, I would just give you a status update. We continue to evaluate potential strategies to help alleviate capacity issues or future capacity issues within the Transportation Department. Would note that we are not bringing forward any recommendations in terms of no busing zones or no pickup zones for next year, but we are continuing to evaluate the potential need for those strategies, as we do believe there will be a time in the future where we have to look at making some sort of restrictive change to offering the service just simply based out of capacity. However, we are not there as of next year. So we are not bringing forward any policy recommendations in terms of changes at this time for that. However, I would note that we have reviewed the transportation fee structure, and the last change they had to the transportation fee occurred in 2011. So we are evaluating a potential increase in the transportation fee, very likely bringing forward a recommendation here at a future meeting. Don't anticipate it being extremely large or anything, but a nominal fee increase is likely in order, given the fact that it's been over a decade since we've done that. So no change in terms of policy strategies associated with the no busing zones or pickup zones, but we are evaluating a transportation fee increase. Just would note that for the Board of Education, and said recommendation will be coming at a future meeting.
Anyone else have a formal board report this evening? All right, pretty quiet. I think it's been a pretty quiet month, which has been nice. All right, that takes us to, looks like there's one travel report there for you to review. Otherwise, it takes us to the end of our agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, and thank you for coming tonight.